Yes, we can start.
Okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sitecore User Group Jaipur. And this time we have Mr. Amit Kumar with us to present with this topic. Let me tell you something about Amit. Amit is a senior Sitecore solution architect and having a great experience on Sitecore. He is also a Sitecore MVP, technology MVP since 2019. And so I'm going to handle this session to Amit. And Amit, I think you can start now.
Thanks, Sandeep, and also the Sitecore User Group Jaipur for giving me the opportunity so that I can share my knowledge with the larger audience. So, hi all, thanks for joining the session, right? And I know that it's very difficult to get a time out of your day-to-day activities. So, once again, thanks for joining the session. So in today's session, I will be provide a walkthrough on extending a Sitecore analytics reporting with the help of a data which we are capturing with the user activity on your Sitecore website. So the agenda of today's session is the introduction. What about the session, right? Overview of Sitecore XDB and xConnect and Sitecore XDB data storage and how we can access the Sitecore XDB data. So I will be sharing some of the options which you can explore to integrate with the Sitecore XDB, and overview of one of the integration where we can get the data from the Sitecore XDB and enrich the Power BI tool to create a reporting, and then we can have a Q&A. So I will request you that if you are having any question, right, you can stop me in between and I will be happy to provide the answers to those queries. My intro is already provided by the Sandeep, so I will be not covering this. So as I said that I will be providing a information about how we can utilize the data which you have captured via Sitecore Experience platform. So generally, any of the organization or the client is using the Sitecore Experience platform mainly for the digital marketing purpose, right? To avoid the dependency on the other analytics tools like Google Analytics. So people are utilizing a Sitecore Experience platform extensively to get a more insight on how their content is behaving or performing within their websites, because you will be having a many sections in your website like a article section, blog section, events and other content, right? So how each and every section is performing, you can get insight from the Sitecore Experience Analytics. So now I will be moving to a first section like an overview of a Sitecore XDB and X connection. So most of you are aware about that Sitecore XDB is nothing but a Sitecore Experience Database. So Experience Database stand for the when Sitecore Experience Platform uh, is utilizing to store all of user interaction or the web activity into the Sitecore XDB. And Sitecore XDB is not directly exposed to any of the role except the XDB collection, XConnect roles, right? So suppose prior to the Sitecore 9, we were having a MongoDB as a non-relational database to store the all the users web activity. But Sitecore 9 onwards, Sitecore have introduced a XConnect based microservices, which are basically interacting with the XDB to get or set the data into the XDB. So XConnect services also being utilized in the content delivery roles as well as into the content management roles. So in the upcoming slide, I will be showing you what are the other services is being utilized by the Sitecore. So as I said that experience platform is built up with the XConnect and the experience platform services. So XConnect will be having a collection services, search services, and other two things are the search indexer and the collection database. So the collection service is utilized by basically the content delivery server to get or sets the uh, Sitecore contact related data. So these XConnect services are coming in two ways. One is you can run the xConnect services in the Sitecore context, and other is that you can run in the non-Sitecore context. And there is this one more xConnect collection such service is there that is basically being utilized by the content management role, because in content management or role also you are having a many screens related to the Sitecore Experience platform, like a Sitecore Experience Analytics is there, um, Sitecore Experience Profile is there, List Managers is there. So in those cases, this xConnect Connect collection search service is being utilized. And I said that you cannot, or the other roles are not having a direct access to the XDB collection except the xConnect. Any questions till this point?
Actually, like the people can only listen, they cannot speak
Oh,
in this meeting.
okay.
So they can mention their question at the chat window if they require, and we can take it at last. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks. So as I was explaining that this is a simple flow, data flow of the xConnect services. So in the left hand side, you are seeing that you are having the consumers. So like a xConnect client API can be utilized by any CRM system, or a content delivery also utilizing that, and content management also utilizing that. And they are connecting with the xConnect web API. And these xConnect collection APIs are the OData based APIs, and you can get most of the operation like a get set, or you need to set a create a contact, you need to set or update the contact, you need to create the facets, and you need to set the facets, right? So all those operations with respect to the contact can be achieved with the help of xConnect web API. And behind the scene, there is a search and collection services are there, and also processing roles is also there, which will process the data which you will push into the uh, xConnect XDB via xConnect API. And then you are also having the reporting database. Reporting database is generally utilized by the your CM role when you are having a xConnect Sitecore Experience Analytics reporting feature is there, that is generally being utilized by the using the reporting database to display the reports. In this flow also, you are seeing that content management is using the xConnect collection services, and content delivery is using the xConnect collection service. So basically, xConnect collection service is being utilized when you are writing any code, or you are making a call to any campaign, or you are running or executing any goal. In those scenarios, from this content request will go to the CD server, and from CD server is being utilizing the xConnect client API endpoints to push the data. So while setting up the Sitecore infrastructure, so there is a connection string is there, and in that you will be defining the, you can say that the path or endpoint of your xConnect collection API with the your thumbprint of your xConnect certificates, so that how the client can communicate with the source like a xConnect API. With that mechanism, um, Sitecore will communicate with the xConnect client API. So now I'm moving to the next section where I will be touching upon a what type of database schema is present in the Sitecore XDB and utilized by the Sitecore to push the data. So when while you are setting up the Sitecore Experience platform, so by default you will be getting a two shards databases of the XDB collection. So shard is nothing but a one type of Sitecore Microsoft SQL Server database concept, which generally being used to improve the performance of the your system. So in shards you will be having a same type of schema in another database also. So in the Sitecore, when you are fetching a data or setting a data, so sometimes request will go to shard 0, and sometimes request will go to the shard 1. And once you will combine that or make a query, so it will combine both the database and return you the result. And in the XDB collection database, so the main table is that Sitecore XDB collection contact. So the purpose of this contact is that, so whenever any user is coming to your website, for example, I am the user and coming to any of the Sitecore application, if you are have enabled the tracking in your website, then what will happen that it will create the anonymous user with the help of your IP address. So once you will having any of the functionality in your system where you will be taking user email address and the first name last name like a subscription or those things, and you are writing a custom code to create a contact in the Sitecore system, and you will be calling a API is called identify as. And at that time, Sitecore will replace all of the tracking of the anonymous user with the known user. Then, if you will go into your database, right, by at any given point of time, so you will be finding some geo IDs are there, and this contact for table is connected to the references is having references in the contact facets table. That facets is storing the facets related data. So by default, Sitecore is providing a personal information facet, email address facets, and address list facets. So these are the, you can say that the attributes which you can set with the Sitecore context, because this Sitecore contact is a main entity in your experience platform. So all the data which you are storing into your XDB is relying on the Sitecore contact uh, entity itself. So, and also you will be finding a one more table called a interaction. So suppose if you are firing any goals in your website, or you are having any page events, or you are enabled any sort of tracking like a download assets or searching anything. So all those relators data related to the user footprints, right, will be stored in the interaction table. So by default, this is the core collection models which are present or provided by the Sitecore, and these entities or the classes are exposed via xConnect, and you can make use of these to get the data from the Sitecore xConnect. So contact entity is the main entity, because whenever you wanted to display any data out of the XDB, so you will be not directly going and getting a data based on a contact, right? So contact is a one entity, because you need to sometimes get a data where you are storing the event also. So you will just go and make a link query, and you will put a condition of the events. And most of the times you are building a personalized space in your website, right? So in those cases, you need to pass the identifier like a email to get a contact, and then you will start getting the facets related to that. So as you saw in that, there is a event table is there, outcomes, goals, all are attached, or you can say that is having a references in the event table. So this is the main entity which you can utilize to get a data from the Sitecore xConnect. And these are the another details or the which I was talking about, like a contact, and you are having a email address list facet, list subscription facet, consent information, right, personal information. So these are the you can say that the classes which you will be generally utilizing while getting or setting data with respect to your contact. And this consent information is also very important, because after 10 Sitecore 10 onwards, it is providing you the consent information which is generally being utilized by Sitecore when you are implementing a GDPR related requirement into your website. So with the help of this out of the box facets, you can get the required information, as well as you can create a custom facets also. For example, if you are creating a registration form, and you are having the registration form where you are providing the functionality of the login. So generally what will happen that you will utilize the any IAM system, authentication and authorization system, which will be utilized by you to authenticate the user, and rest of the information like a first name, last name, user department, roles, and whatever the personal information you want to capture with respect to that user, you will be pushing into your contact facet. In those cases, you generally needs to create the custom facets, and you can push all data within a Sitecore. And it is very useful to utilize a Sitecore to attach these information near to the Sitecore. Why? Because you do not need to rely on the more than one system. So all the data where you need to apply a personalization rules. So it's better to store into the Sitecore itself. So in this screen, I just tried to explain about a when you will be making a call to the contact facets on the basis of a contact ID, and you will be getting a email address list, all these facets, and the data within these rows or the database are present in the form of a JSON. So earlier to Sitecore 9, we were having a non-relational database. So you can go and add any of the node in the non-relational database, and Sitecore converted that relationship into the JSON, because in JSON also you can add any of the attribute in any of the content item. So with that you will be able to get all of the data. So in this I try to get a data uh, related to the personal information and the email address list, and with the help of this JSON value, and you will be able to get the data out of the Sitecore contact facets. And I said that there is another important table called the interaction table. In that, everything is being stored in the form of a JSON items or attributes. So you can see that the goals, outcome, page, view event, item IDs, and if you are firing any goals, or if you are even firing any of the campaign or a page events, all those are being stored in the form of a JSON. And here you will be finding a start and end date also. And generally, when you will go to the experience profile and select any of the uh, Sitecore experience profile, then you will get a activity listing, which will give you the information about how much time user have spent on your website, and within that time spent, what are the action performed by the user. So all these being is fetched from this interaction table itself. So now I am moving to the section where I will be giving you overview or the options which can be utilized by you to get a data from the Sitecore XDB. So because the Sitecore analytics reporting or the experience analytics reporting feature is providing the basic reporting only. For example, it will tell you that uh, what is the performance of your goal, how many times it has been fired, right? And what are the, you can say that which pages is accessed more by the user. So only those basic reporting or the performance of your content is present. But if you wanted to know about how many users are in your websites are a valid users, and if a specific user have been accessed which pages more frequently, and how many times this specific user have fired a goal or enroll into a specific events, or a, you can say that the page events or a campaign. So those granular level information is not present. And also if you would like to know that you are having the tagging feature, right? So if you are writing any articles or any blogs, right, so you will be generally adding a tags to that. That is nothing but a metadata with respect to your content which you are displaying. So now if content authoring team or the business user wanted to know that which specific tagging content is being most used by the your website user, so those information you cannot get out of the Sitecore default reporting feature. So in those scenarios you need to rely on the third party reporting feature. But how you will fill the data or provide a source to that, that is present in the Sitecore XDB. So Sitecore xConnect is providing a xConnect client API namespace, which can be run in the Sitecore xConnect, that is, has been utilized to get the data out of the XDB. Other is that xConnect client API or data API, which is can be used in the non-Sitecore context to get the data. And other is that the Sitecore XDB database, where you can, if your data is accessible outside and you can provide a access to your database into any third-party system, in those cases, XDB database can be directly utilized. And from my understanding, I have identified as six approaches which can be utilized to get the data out of the XDB. One is that you can create a batch job, which needs to be run on the off business hour, and it will be utilizing your xConnect client API, and it will fetch the data from the your XDB, like get all the sitecore context and get all the data related to interaction and the facets, and push that data to any third party database or any external database in a format which can be easily understandable and utilized. Other option is that, but in the first option, your code needs to be run in the sitecore context. So your job needs to be deployed on the CD server. Other option is that you can utilize the xConnect client API OData endpoints, and you can make a connection with the Azure factory or a data factory with the OData connector, and you can orchestrate data and push to any other third party reporting system or a database. That is the second option. Third option is that you can utilize the Sitecore xConnect client API endpoint, and you can directly integrate that into the Power BI OData connector. That is a another option, fourth option. Fifth option is that uh, you can create a batch job, right? And you can access the Sitecore XDB database and push the data. And the sixth option is that Sitecore xConnect client API you can use, and you can push data at a real time to the any message queue system, right? Like a Kafka. So why there is this option is available, because when you are working with the enterprise level application or the organization, so you will be having a system where the data is being pushed from the any many downstream system. For example, your client is working on a many vertical, right? They are in the travel industry, they are in the uh, food and supply chain industry, and they are having a another grocery store or a offline stores also. And if you are doing purchase and anything, and they are pushing database to data lake, in those scenarios this message queue system is very useful, because Sitecore is one of the you can say that the web property running by your client, and whatever the data with respect to your Sitecore contact, right, that you can push directly to the message queue system, and later that data can be directly utilized by any other downstream system to nourish the data or orchestrate the data. And client generally will use the data lake like Hadoop to create a uh, customer 360-degree view, like they will be adding a attribute to user profile that this user interested more on the which electronics item, and which section of the website is more utilized by this specific user. So all data can be added into a customer 360-degree view. So these are the options. In upcoming slides, I will be trying to explain with the help of a flow how it can be achieved. So coming to the option one, so here I have tried to explain, like, suppose if you are a new user coming to your website, you will be having a registration form, right? With that, you will capture the data, and whatever is the data you required for the authentication, you will push to your IAM system. Generally, nowadays people are using the federated authentication provider like Okta, where you just need to pass the username, user email address, first name and last name, and from that onwards, they will generate the email and everything. And then whatever the personal information with respect to Sitecore contact is there, you can push that to the Sitecore xConnect, and that later can be pushed to the Sitecore XDB. And within this piece of code or a flow, you need to create a Sitecore contact, because once you will create the Sitecore contact, then only you can push data to the XDB, and you can identify your user as a known user also at this point. In this option, I will be having a batch job. You can create a Sitecore scheduler also on your need basis, whatever you wanted to do that. and it will be utilizing the xConnect client API, and it will take all the data and it will orchestrate the data and it will submit that data into a understandable format to the any database source or any, you can directly submit to Power BI API also. So in this option, what will happen that Power BI also providing you the API endpoints. So in those cases, what you need to do that first that you need to create a database schema itself in the Power BI. Means if suppose you are getting the data from the xConnect, like a first name and last name, that is nothing but the employee details, for example. So you need to set up the same schema in the uh, Power BI also, like a table name like a employee or any, and then you need to define the columns there itself, so that you can make a mapping of those data sets and you can push the data. So that is another way also if you want to skip the custom database. Other way is that the first flow will be same, the second flow will be changing that you will be directly having a connectivity with the Sitecore xConnect OData API via Azure Data Factory, and you can orchestrate the data, you can push to the custom database or you can directly push to the Power BI API. So if you wanted to skip the custom database and directly wanted to push to Power BI API endpoint, but there is a one limitation with that, like within a 10 minutes or a 15 minutes you can make a 300 calls to the Power BI API endpoint. After that it will take a pause and then it will start serving the request. That is a limitation of Power BI endpoint. So in those cases, if your website is having a lots of xConnect related activities or a data, right, then you need to avoid those API endpoint and you need to have an interim database, or you can say that the temporary database which will capture all the orchestrated data. That is, this is the second option. Third option is that you can use the xConnect client API endpoint directly in the Power BI. So in those cases, you will be having a connector, so all the data which are present in your site code can be directly pushed to the Power BI itself. So in those cases, Power BI API endpoints will be not called. You are directly integrating your API endpoints in the Power BI. But you need to skip the authentication mechanism on the your xConnect client API. So that can be disabled, and after that you can put a security layer by enabling the IP level restriction and the behind the firewall type of things with the Power BI, so that your xConnect API will be not exposed or accessible outside of your virtual LAN or something like that. Network related security you need to apply. And fourth option is that there is a xConnect client API service plugin is there. That is also another good feature. I don't know you guys are aware about this or not. So what happened that this is also one sort of uh, pipeline. What will happen that when you are pushing the data to the xConnect, and suppose you are creating a new contact and you are setting the personal information facet. So in that case, what happened that once you will add contact, then the xConnect API will be used to send the data to the XCP. At the same time, if you have enabled this pipeline or written a code, then after that it will make a call to Sitecore xConnect Client API Service plugin, and you will get a event. This event will give you a add contact event, and you can get the data related to first name and last name which you have sent while creating the contact, and you can catch that data and you can store into any of the database or any source. So after that you will set the facets. Then also set facets event will be firing, and whatever the facets you are setting up with respect to contact, it will give you the contact ID also. That contact ID can be utilized as a foreign key and you can store data with respect to that facet. So in this case, if you are having a 10 facets, so you need to write a code with respect to 10 facets, because When this event, Sitecore xConnect client API service plugin event is firing, so basically for each facet it will make a call, and you need to check that what is the request source or a type of facet is being fired. On the basis of that, you need to write a custom code. So this is a real time insertion of a data, so that is also very useful if you are having a if you wanted to rely on the real time data. But in this case you will be having a lot of loads in your CD server. So in those cases, either you will horizontal scale your CD server and the xConnect client API so that you can bear the load and your performance can be increased. So that is another option. Fifth option is that you will be directly extract the data from the XDB, and whatever the data orchestration you have to do that you will do, and then you can push the data to the Power BI platform. Another option you can do that you can directly export this data to the Power BI, and there you can do the some sort of step based data orchestration, and you can build up the uh, required reporting. The sixth option is that, as I said, that if you wanted to, you are having the enterprise level or your client is doing a many businesses, then you can utilize this Kafka based integration. So suppose any of the options which I have explained where you are getting the real time data, so you can push the data real time to the Kafka, because Kafka will work in the basis of a some sort of a unique messages, and all the and your downstream system will be having a, some sort of listener which will be continuously listening to the events which you are pushing, and they will catch those events and they will process the data. So this type of mechanism also you can implement to get the real time data from the site code. And suppose we were having is six options, right? So while you are presenting to your client, so you need to come up with the evaluation criteria, like, because once you are getting any requirement, so client will be giving you the some sort of an FR, right? A performance, security, or some basic hygiene requirement they will be giving you. So you need to come up with some sort of you can say that the ratings which will helpful for the client to decide which option is best for them. So that type of ways you need to use while proposing a solution if you are having more than one solution options. And now I will be explaining a one use case or this options where we have utilized a Power BI as a reporting system and directly using the database to make a connectivity with Power BI, and we have created a reporting out of that. So what you can do that it will depend upon your requirement in how many steps. So but what we can do that, suppose from all the option you can get the data, right? And that data you can use to create a raw data set. Suppose whatever the data you are getting, just push to the raw data set in the Power BI, and then from the raw data set you will create a data flow, and you can orchestrate a level one things. For example, you are getting the contact. In that case, step one, contacts are in the form of a single table, and your JSON data related to facets are present in all the rows. So now in level one, what you can do that you can create a join, and you can get the JSON data which are present in a one column, and you can divide that into a number of rows. That type of orchestration you can do in level one. So you do not need to write any specific code to do all these type of data orchestration, because Power BI is providing a many options out of the box to get a data out of any type of data source. Even if you are having XML, you can easily get a data out of that. If you are having a JSON, you just need to select a column, and whatever the option you wanted to do, it will fetch all the data and create a table or a rows as per your need. And then you can have another step called a step 3, where you will be performing a more granular level data orchestration. For example, in the step 2, you get all the context, right? In your website, maybe some of the test user data also present, and you need to put a if filter that which one is valid or not. And if you wanted to create any sort of, you can say that a custom table also, you can do all this granular level data orchestration in the step 3. And once you will be having all of the data refinement and everything is done, you can create a data set out of that. This data set can be utilized directly by the Power BI reporting feature to create the required report. So, and also Power BI providing you with some sort of DAX programming language that can also be very useful when you needs to do some sort of manipulation which is not present out of the box. So this DAX query can also be used. So it's a very easy. If you will go through the Power BI documentation, you will get a lots of you can say that the options how to utilize this DAX query. So once you will set up a this, so this will looks like this. So these are the signs generally will represent a data flow and the refinement. So these steps you generally can define in your Power BI board or a whatever the subscription you have taken, you can define in that manner. So in this slide, I am showing you, suppose in my case, what we did that for the R&D purpose, we have taken a Sitecore databases like a XDB collection database also we have taken, and also we have taken a web database also, because in the XDB you will be having a page IDs, you will be not having the page names. So how I will get a page name out of the Sitecore XDB? I need to make a join with the web database with respect to the this items which are present in the Sitecore WebDB. So in that cases, in the step 1, I have created a replica of my WebDB as well as the Sitecore XDB, and at this point it's a raw data. So this you are seeing that this is a raw data. In the orchestration level 1, I have added a percentile, one another field into that. And in the step 3, I have provided a more checks and more joins. I have created a simple table for the contact, which will be having contact ID, created date, first name, last name, department. This data I taken from the facets, which I created a custom facets, and also I have put a validation like this is a test data or whatever. That type of things I have added it. And after getting all the data from the step 1, step 2, step 3, I created a data set. So out of that data set, I am easily able to create a reports which is giving a number of visits as well as the page view. And this is my metadata performance, right? As I was telling you that I am having these sets of tagging, and how each tagging is performing, you will be not able to get this reporting out of the Sitecore experience analytics reporting. And also how many total number of page views, website interaction, and how many times user have contacted us, right? And how many items are present in your website, valid items where users are interacting, right? So those you can get from the uh, if you are having the data orchestration and granular level flat tables you have created, then only you can get it. And coming to the another view, like this type of contact details you cannot get from the site core, right? You can utilize the list manager, but list manager will only show the first name and the last name and the email address, and it will not provide you the rest of the facet. So if you have pushed the data to any of the reporting system or you have captured, so you can create a this tabular view, and also you can use the different ways of the chart to show the data to your business user or a content authoring team. And this is also one of the view of a specific user, where I have tried to explain you that suppose you can get a integrate a map also, and you can identify that how many times that specific user have interacted, as well as how many page that user have viewed in your website. And also these are nothing but a goals, so how many times user have interacted with your goals. So all this can be created when you will be having a data in a format which is easy to understand, like this, by any reporting tool. So you can get all type of reporting whatever is required by your business user. But in the to create this level of reporting, you required a Power BI developer in your team, because it's very difficult to create a this type of report, because you can just provide a data, raw data to them, and they can create a you can say that the flat tables which can be easily pushed to the reporting tool like a Power BI or any other reporting tool. So that skill set is required in your team. That is an additional effort you need to encounter or you can include into your estimation. So these are the things which you can utilize, right? And come to the option window. So I think I have done from my side, right? So I have explained how we can utilize a Sitecore xConnect or a Sitecore Express platform to create a extensive reporting out of that, which are not present from the Sitecore Experience Analytics. So I am open for any sort of queries if anyone is having, and I will be happy to answer those queries if you have anything.
Uh, yeah, thanks, Amit. It's really nice session, and we have a couple of questions here, so we can go them one by one.
Mm.
So, first question is like, whenever we make request to xConnect, so will it always first merge the data from different shard DB and then return result?
No, what happened that whenever you will request a xconnect, right? So internally it will merge the data, because some contact are present in the, suppose you have are having a one contact, right? So some
Mm-hmm.
contacts are present into the shard 0, some are present in the shard 1. So while you are making any get request, so Sitecore internally will merge the records and it will give you the result. So you do not need to do anything. Behind
Okay,
the scenes,
and
Sitecore will perform those things.
okay, fine. So whenever we make request, it will always take care of different shard
Yes, yes,
database
yes.
and then
Uh,
Sitecore return the
yes.
result.
But if you
Okay.
are directly accessing the database, that practice you have to do that. Like
Okay.
if you are directly accessing the XDB.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. Thank you. Now the next question is like if we have multiple servers, like we have different cities, so in that case, how
Mm.
this data is going to be stored on xConnect DB?
See what happened that you are having the CD, right? So
Mm-hmm.
suppose you are having the CD1, CD2, CD3, and you are having the one XConnect API endpoint. And suppose you are having the one XConnect API server, or you are having the two XConnect API server. At the end, those XConnect API server will be having a single database, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
there is a limitation that you cannot replicate the database of the XConnect, right? And also
Okay.
WebDB also you will be having a single database also. If you are having a multiple database, then you need to take care of those things via the runtime database replication. And there is always a delay in that. So generally people will avoid the database replication and they will be having a single database. So in those cases, you can have a code base in a n number of server, but at the end your data source is same, right? So you do not need to bother about how the data is being saved, because it will be taken care by the xConnect API, and behind the scene they will be having a single database connection and they will be pushing data.
Okay, thank you. Now we have next question that if we will use xConnect client API, then will it track interactions?
Yes. So what happened that if you are talking about a headless implementation, right? I assume that
Mm-hmm.
because if you are using ASP.NET MVC based implementation, then by default tracking is enabled. If you need to disable, then you need to exactly go and change the some configuration in your website, then it will disable it, right? So
Okay, yep.
ASP.NET MVC application will automatically track. But if you are using the headless based implementation, so while making it there also it by default it will be enabled, but you are passing a track is equal to true or false from your calling this API. So your tracking for a specific Sitecore item is enabled. But if you want to fire any goal, any events or anything, you need to explicitly make a layout service or the events related API calls to push the data to your xConnect API.
Okay. So that means in case of headless, that it should be explicit. It is not implicit.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. The next one which we have is in initial slides you talked about different roles of Sitecore xConnect, like collection,
Mhm.
search, and indexers.
Hmm.
What is the difference between these, and what is the role and responsibility of this?
So as I said that for the xConnect you will be having a two API endpoint. One is the xConnect collection and one is the xConnect collection search is there, right? Those are the two endpoints. xConnect collection is being utilized by the CD roles because when you are having a website, right, and that is serving your content, that is a content delivery. In that case, xConnect collection will be used, and when you are having a CM roles, right, for that there is a separate endpoints is there, right? A xConnect collection search is there. So if you will go to the Sitecore developer portal, right, and you will search about a Sitecore XDB, then it will give you the first link itself where they have extensively explain about what is the roles and responsibilities. So, but the main things you need to understand, xConnect collection search is directly connected with CD, and xConnect collection search is directly connected with the Sitecore CM roles. And CD roles is being used to get or set the data from the website which is utilized by the Sitecore end user, and xConnect collection search will get or sets the data with respect to the CM role. Suppose if you are getting a data out of a experience profile, when you are loading experience profile page, you are seeing a it is takes some time to load, right? So in those
Mhm.
cases xConnect collection search API is being used to get the data out of xdb.
Okay, thank you. Now, the next question we have is like, so for your Power BI, have you disabled tracking explicitly?
No, why I will disable tracking? Because Power BI is nothing to do with your tracking, because Power BI is a reporting tool. So it just expect the data, whichever is being used to create any sort of reporting. So tracking needs to be enabled. If you will disable the tracking, then how you will get a data or interaction related to the user? So you have to enable the tracking. Otherwise, it's better to utilize the XM when you do not need to use the Sitecore experience profile licensing.
Okay, yep, that makes sense. So I guess from this we are done with our questions. Okay, we have one more question. Do we have time to take this up?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so we have like, can we scale up collection and search API both?
So what happened that uh, if you have seen a I don't know, there is a XP0 topology is there, right? XP1
Mm-hmm,
topology is there. So we are having around 12 roles are there. So while provisioning a infrastructure, right?
mm-hmm,
It's up to you that on the basis of a user load and how many user requests are coming to your website per second or concurrent, right? Those are some NFRs attributes are there.
Mm-hmm.
On the basis of that, you can decide that you need to scale your XDB collection roles or not, right? So on the basis of that, you can scale these resources into a different server. Horizontal scaling, you can do that. And also when you are doing the IaaS based implementation, right? People are generally creating a single xConnect role and they are pushing with the CD or the CM, right?
Mm-hmm.
To decrease the number of nodes, right? But if you will see the PaaS provisioning, right, where you are
Mm-hmm.
creating the web app, in those cases there is a only single node is there because single node is a easily able to capture or provide a response to your system. But because what happened that CD mainly needs to be scaled. XConnect will be scaled when you are doing the more operations related to a XConnect. For example, you are having the login mechanism, right, which is relying on your xConnect. You are having the favorites, right? Some people are
Mm-hmm.
having a save to favorites content type of thing. So in those cases, you are utilizing more xConnect, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
only you need to horizontal scale. But you can scale because those are the small microservices are there that can be scaled.
Okay, and I guess as you told before, if we are scaling up it in a different server, so maybe we have to do the integration or replication at the runtime, something like that.
Yeah, because you cannot do the database replication because XDB data replication is a very difficult. Because
Mm-hmm.
in one of my project we were trying to implement the data localization, but we were not able to do that because you cannot do the replication of the data for the XConnect.
Okay.
Because CD you can deploy into a different region, right?
Mm-hmm.
But XDB you can't, and also CM you can't do because if you will replicate the CM, you need to buy a more license because in any of the Sitecore implementation, you can have a one CD instance and n number of CD instances, but only CD instance will be one because Sitecore licensing is based on the number of CM servers you are going to have. So those
Okay.
things also you need to think about while replicating.
Okay. Okay. So I guess with this we are done with our questions. So thanks, Amit. It was really a nice session and it really enhanced our knowledge a lot. Although maybe like everybody must have not typed everything, but yeah, we'll again maybe we can revisit the recordings and we can explore it more.
Yeah, thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity. Also, anyone can reach out to me, right? Anytime if you are having any question not related to this topic or maybe some topic, maybe I am knowing it, so I will be happy to help you in those cases also. So feel free to contact me anytime.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks from
Uh,
Sitecore
and
Reserve Group
once
Jaipur.
again, and once again, thanks for joining and giving the time. Yeah, thanks a lot. Have a
Thanks,
Sure.
great
Amit.
day.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.